to talk about some of the illusions that I've had that have been pretty interesting. Some of the more interesting ones. One was that I have I had gods following me around, and that they gave me this nectar to drink, but instead of drinking it, I spilled it on my crotch, and I laughed. And Jessica asked me a bunch of questions. She was one of the servants of the gods, and she asked me if I had a soul, and I said I didn't know. And she asked me a bunch of other questions, and she was like, "Oh," and she thought I was like immature and stuff. And so they blurred my senses in Cuba, and then they sent me on my way because they just decided that I was going to be, I guess, out of it. And yeah, so that happened, and then I thought that dinosaurs were that President Bush was talking to dinosaurs through E8, and I had to stop him. So I drove all the way up to DC to try to stop him from talking to dinosaurs. And I didn't ever do anything because at the last minute I wimped out, turned around, and came back home. But I would drive like hundreds of miles a night and stuff, and then I would go to work the next day and I would be out of it. Severe sleep deprivation. I had Trey tell me, Trey is a delusion that I had in the very beginning. It was three shadows. They told me that I was never going to make it into the next stage because I didn't understand what a metaphor was. And I was like, but I understand. And they're like, no, you don't understand what we're saying. And then they laughed at me because they were in the car. They were in a car and they were just like all talking to each other and they were making fun of me. And then I had these twins talk to me for a while, and they would rhyme when they talked to me, and they would be like, well, they were the ones that were like, yo ho ho, it's off to work we go, there'll be rain and there'll be snow, but we know, we know, we know we go. A limit or something. It was like a limit for your time. Something I don't remember it exactly, but they sing the song, and it was about how to avoid getting scurvy, and I didn't remember what scurvy was because I was my brain just doesn't work like it used to. And yeah, so it was just about how to avoid getting it, and that's what the song was about that they were singing to me. Like, I don't understand how my brain works in these kind of strange ways. Like, because it'll pull up references that I don't even know about, and or things that I don't think I've ever heard before. Because I never knew that the gods traditionally gave nectar out. Like, and then because I'm not really well read or anything, and I didn't know that in the Quran it said we will blur your senses. I didn't know any of this, and then all of a sudden it's like brought on to me, and I have to confront it. And then I had an angel get on my back and say he was going to rip my skin off because I was a pig, and he said to turn around and show him the face he created. That was the demonic angel. Um, that was pretty weird. That was one of the things that I thought was real, and it turned out it wasn't. I was just having strange issues, and then I thought God or angels were after me for a while, and yeah, so it's been a rocky road, strange delusions and everything else. I still think the God with the nectar was the weirdest experience I've ever had. They let me throw rocks, and then when I threw rocks, they would put it onto the battlefield, and it would be in Iraq. And even though I never went to Iraq, and they would let me fight, and they would say that I was fighting for them. It was just bizarre. I mean, my experiences don't make any sense, and they're not like tied together. But I understand why it was so hard for them to diagnose me with a head injury because of all this that was going on. Because I would like say that I had a head injury, and then I would say all this other weird stuff, and they wouldn't be able